Hello and welcome to UC Today. I'm Senior Editor Tom Wright and I'm delighted to be joined by Anthony from Invosys. Thanks for joining us, Anthony.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to have you. We've got an interesting topic to talk about today, actually. We're going to be looking at fraud, and I wonder if you could start by just kind of talking us through sort of what the market looks like out there at the moment in terms of telecoms fraud.
Yeah, sure. I think we've all experienced emails and text messages coming from various organisations or appearing to. Thankfully, our email providers are very good at providing these spam filters. But as these criminal gangs, because it is criminal gangs behind most of this activity, as they're looking to get ahead of the game and find the next victim, if you like, we've seen a massive increase in movement towards using traditional voice telephony. And this can be simply just to farm some data or mine some information about a customer to go on and commit a fraud somewhere else. But last year in the UK, there was an estimated 1 billion spam calls made. That counts for nearly half of all the calls that are made within the UK. So it's pretty shocking, really, how big this is getting. The criminal gangs, they're highly skilled, but they are lazy. They look for the easiest route to commit these crimes, and they don't want to waste time going down a dead end with a prospect, going round and round, just looking for that target. So they employ computers and software to do this, auto dialers, and we've all had those calls that you answer and there's nobody there. That will have been one of hundreds of calls that happened simultaneously, and all the gangs are looking for is a victim that they can take on the journey, take down the route that they want them to go, find somebody who's maybe more gullible than somebody else, and they'll do that by asking the recipient of the call to press 1 to speak to an agent or to pay an outstanding bill or whatever it might be. It's got really out of hand, and at the back end of last year, Ofcom stated that the telecoms providers, the networks, really need to take action. Otherwise, it's going to be an end to voice calls as we know it. People just won't want to receive calls. And as a company such as Invosys, with a long history in our intelligent call routing platform, we really don't want there to be an end to voice calls.
Yeah, and as you said at the start, it's we often think about this as targeting individuals, but how can it look in terms of a business as the potential victim?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's easy to understand why there is the misconception that it's just private individuals. We hear all the stories about somebody's grandmother who's had a bank account, life savings taken by these gangs. But in reality, the auto dialers that they use just aren't that picky. They will ring every number within a range, ending in 5 zeros all the way through to 5 nines. And they just want to find the next victim. In terms of businesses, the impacts can vary. It could be that these gangs access an auto attendant, which has maybe got some self-service platform in there to help them gain extra data on a target, on a victim. They may ring through and order something fraudulently using stolen credit card details, but presenting a different number or whatever it might be. I suppose the best scenario for a company is they just have an agent's time wasted. But if you think about the costs involved with that and the ramifications of it, if a call centre's team are targeted on their performance in terms of how many calls they convert into sales or the length of calls, the number of calls that they answer per day, whatever it might be, if they're getting silent calls or callers that are purely wasting their time, it's going to have a big impact. And before you sort of look at any other costs that are involved in terms of the actual fraud, a potential loss or additional security they have to put in place, minimum wage is around about 15 pence per minute now. So if you've got a number of these calls coming into a call centre and your agents are dealing with them, there's big costs involved. And even at Invosys, our main incoming numbers are Manchester number 0161, and we frequently analyse that number, and we do regularly see calls coming into it that are likely to be fraudulent. Around about 6% of all of the calls that hit our main number are potentially fraudulent. And if we drill down to the calls that just stay within our menu, within our auto attendant, that jumps up to 17%. And they're not short calls either. They're up to a minute and a half long, these calls. So what are these people doing? What are they looking for in our auto attendant? So in terms of, individuals and businesses, it's a big impact on both.
And we're obviously in the middle of quite an interesting dynamic shift here, aren't we? As we're relying more and more on the internet for voice. So, what kind of impact does that have on things that we're talking about here?
Yeah, it's true. The change to VoIP and SIP's a big deal. PSTN and the ISDN network's going to be switched off soon. Around about 80% of all of these spam calls that we're talking about involve spoofing. So that is when the caller is presenting a different number to their true number. So they may be changing it from an international number to a UK number. They may just be changing it from one UK number to another UK number. And it's all done either just to disguise their true identity or to gain trust from the person on the end of the phone. Are they presenting a bank's number? Are they presenting themselves as HMRC looking for a refund, or is it the post office saying that you've got postage charges to pay? I've been getting calls recently on my mobile, which the first sort of 8 digits are exactly the same as my own mobile. So I'll look at it and think, oh, that's going to be somebody I trust. But the last 3 digits are always different. I've had a number of those over this last week. Businesses now, we're well into using VoIP and SIP technology. And that does enable you to present your own DDI, which is, I suppose, it's a legal kind of spoofing. We do it ourselves with our Flow unified comms platform or our Teams direct routing. We do have the ability to change our presentation number between calls. Every call I can do it. And, there's a lot of providers out there who are good enough to restrict what people can present. But there's a lot of software out there that means you can make a VoIP call and present whatever number that you want. And as I say, it's all about these systems getting trust with the end users. But unfortunately, a lot of on-site phone systems and business-grade systems, in fact, most of them will take the presented number as the truth. And as the copper network gets switched off, everything's going to be VoIP calls, even the calls that you receive at home. There's no need really now to have a specific area code for a specific handset. It can present or receive calls from any number that you want. Will we end up at the point where we're receiving phone calls to our Amazon devices or our Apple TVs?
So there's obviously a lot going on here. There's a lot for businesses to think about. How are you helping them combat these threats?
Yeah, well, for the last 18 months or so, long before Ofcom stated that we need to get a grip of it, we've been working on a really exciting new fraudulent caller detection platform, and we're calling it CallShield. And what that does, it looks and analyzes every call that comes across our existing number manager platform, and it'll look for telltale signs, things that don't look quite right with a phone call, and we'll raise a failed scrutiny flag for any calls that we identify as potentially suspicious. We're starting to get the upper hand in that situation against the fraudsters. The lookups happen in real time as the call hits the platform, as I say, and we're looking out for a number of different criteria, including spoofing, as we've spoken about. But we're also drilling down deeper into the call's DNA, if you like, and we're looking out for discrepancies in its origin and what's being presented. And, as the platform learns more and more about a customer's situation, it looks for trends and patterns, and we can look into the metadata of calls and really look for unusual things going on within call patterns to give the end user that information. Most on-site systems, like I say, they're just not sophisticated enough to be able to see this information.
Okay, well, based on kind of the threats you were talking about at the start of the call, sounds like that's going to be a lot of use to a lot of businesses. What else can you tell us about it? When can we expect it to be available?
Yeah, the platform's live now. We're just onboarding our first customers. We have done some extensive trials, including some analysis with a large financial institution, which really did open our eyes as to what's going on out there. But we're really excited to get some long-term information out of this platform and really have a positive impact, not only on our customers, but their callers, well, the genuine callers anyway. We want a positive impact for them. There's a lot of advanced features within the Number Manager platform which enable CallShield to really be an all-encompassing solution. We're not just looking at the historic stats. We're not telling you that somebody broke into your shed last Tuesday night. Do you want to go and have a look if anything's missing? This is happening real time, and we've got around about 8 different parameters, things that we can raise flags on, and you can choose to route those calls, those flagged calls, differently. So if a subscriber wants to block the most suspicious calls dead in the track so they don't go anywhere, we can do that. Maybe there's a scenario where the calls may not be 100% suspicious and they want those to go through to maybe a specialist team, or they want them to go through to the existing team but give them a heads up by the way of a call whisper or something, so the agent knows that just be a bit wary with this call, answer the additional security questions or whatever it might be. There is a load of stats around it as well. There's a load of reporting available. You can drill down to a specific day or time or a period and look at the different categories of flags that we've raised. And that will give businesses invaluable information for them to be able to go on and combat this activity themselves with additional security measures on site. And you can also choose when to deploy the CallShield analysis. Do you want to just do it on out of hours services? Do you just want to do it on Mondays and Wednesdays? Do you just want to do it at 10 o'clock in the morning till 12 o'clock in the afternoon when you've got certain team members not available or whatever? So it really is, as I say, super flexible. It's on demand, and the calls are analysed as they happen, but you can act on them before you even know about it. It just works.
Anthony, it's been great talking to you, and I hope we can speak again as CallShield kind of gets a bit of traction out there, and you might uncover some really interesting stuff.
Yeah, good. Nice to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you everyone for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and a share on social media, and we'll see you next time.